Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to make sure that Mr. Knapp can hear us?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, good. All right. Well, with me, Jim Everhart, chairperson of the East Lampeter Township Parks Board. In attendance today, we have Diane Tyson, our secretary, and Bruce Hess and Frank Hollingsworth. Chris Kretin, our member, is not here today. And we also have Ralph Hutchinson, Township Manager, Tara Hitchens, Assistant Township Manager, and Charles Thomas, Director of Public Works. Okay, so I'd like to pledge allegiance. Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag and one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Has everyone read the minutes? Do I hear any motion? I'll second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Public concerns and comments. Do we have anything from?
No, Mr. Knapp, do you have any public concerns or comments?
I just had a question in relation to baseball fields within our township. Am I able to ask that question now, or should I wait?
Now is great.
That would be fun.
Wonderful. I represent the Conestoga Valley Baseball Association. I currently am on the board for them. And one of the questions that we had was potential field usage and various fields that are found within the township. We are unknown of what's going to happen with Smoketown Elementary, which would result in us losing 3 8U fields and 1 T-ball field. So we are curious to know 2 things. One, what fields are within a township that potentially could be at our disposal? We do currently use Lafayette and Flory. And 2, we are curious that we are aware of East Lampeter Park just around the corner, and what possibility there is of using that field for spring baseball. We would not need any fields for the fall season. We are just looking at potential opportunities for the spring.
All right.
Well, we have at least a year to figure that out. I think the school district will still, Smoketown will still be there next spring. So,
Yes, yes, fully understandable on that part. We are putting a letter together to the school to kind of figure out what the potential plan is for Smoketown, as we ourselves are unaware at this moment. And there's been obviously a lot of rumors of what might happen, so we don't know.
Trust me, the school board hasn't even discussed it yet. I really don't they're doing yet with it. So it's still, everything's really up in the air.
Understandable. Good to know. Thank you. The other reason, even though, yes, we would have potentially a year or so until we would lose those fields at Smoketown, we are hopeful that the program is going to grow this spring as we're taking some necessary steps to grow and market the program a little bit better. So we are trying to be a little proactive with potential fields, which again is why I'm inquiring about anything within the township and especially East Lampeter Park.
Is that field set up for softball or baseball?
Softball mainly.
Yeah, that's mainly softball and in the study, the open space study, there was a potential for turning that into a multi-purpose field. So that's again to be determined, I think, by recreation needs.
Yeah, the past practice has been to keep that field open for pavilion renters. So, you know, times when it's not being rented by pavilion renters, it's there.
Yep,
So-
fully understandable with that. The two things we're questioning with that is we would only use the fields Monday through Thursday, maybe Friday, probably not, but Monday through Thursday. So I wasn't sure on the likelihood of it being rented through April, May, and very early parts of June, Monday through Thursday. And then in terms of, we're aware it's set up potentially for softball, but CVBA is able to allot some money to help allow for the not full conversion, but ability to allow baseball to be on that field too.
What would you need to do to make it usable for baseball?
We would probably need to put anchors in the field where we would slide the bases onto, which then could be covered or removed if softball was going to use it, since the base distances are different. And then we've discussed using a temporary mound that we could roll out and beef up for the pitchers if there is a difference between softball and baseball with mound size. Outside of that, I'm not too sure on benches or equipment that's down there, but that's at least knowing right away those are two minor things.
Would the size of the field need to be extended?
No, we would only look to put our 8U or 10U programs down there, so the outfield is plenty far enough and the infield size is plenty big enough.
Well, I don't think it's something that we can decide now. We can note the concerns moving forward, but there's a lot of moving parts to recreation right now. So I think we just need to note their concerns and take that into consideration as we make decisions moving forward.
And we can review the usage of the pavilions during that time frame last year to see whether those.
Well, I have something I want to bring up when we discuss the
Okay.
pavilions moving forward.
Since he was talking Monday through Thursday, which is probably lower usage, but I don't know that. I'm guessing that.
Yeah, I would think typically that those are days that are not reserved as much.
Yeah, when you get towards May, sometime you start getting into the class picnics and stuff like that.
Yeah, probably some more.
Sure, the Amish functions area. Schools in it, there's usually not that many weekly rentals. We'd have to do some research.
I suggest maybe that we at least look at history and see whether what he's proposing is an issue. If it is an issue, then we have other things to talk about.
Have you explored any other, I mean, what other fields have you found at this point that are available to you, additional fields?
We are inquiring with Leola Community Pool to see if there's a field there that potentially could be used. And we're going to look at Leola Elementary, but we believe that is a little too far gone and probably would only be feasible for T-ball, but we're not sure. We did look into Veritas Academy, also out in Leola, and that field has been since converted to a soccer field, so it's no longer of use to us. And I do have an email into the Greenfield properties to see if they have any intention or plan to put baseball fields within Greenfield. I have not yet heard back.
Have you, and maybe I'm off base here, maybe the fields at First Def,
They use them already.
they're already using them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we use Whitmer. That's where our 10U programs are found. And we use Flory, Lafayette. And I think that's it. And Smoketown. We're also hoping when we write the letter to the school board and superintendent about trying to get some sense of what might happen in Smoketown, if we'll get also maybe some indication of anything is being put in over at the middle school that potentially could be of use, but we're told more is going to be soccer than baseball since middle school does not have any type of baseball programs. So that's another reason why I'm here, to kind of gain help and see what potential other parks or maybe I'm missing, or again, the potential use of East Lampeter.
What months did you say you were zeroed in on? April, May, and June, or?
Part of June,
Part of June?
Yeah, our rec program, 8U and 10U, starts practices at the last week of March. And typically our final game is early to mid-June. I would say definitely the first week of June. We typically would move the final games to the Whitmer fields for those programs. So I would say last week of March to the first week of June is a safe bet.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I mean, as Diane indicated, we do have a lot of moving parts right now. But I think what we're hearing, we have your contact information, and I appreciate the fact that you came in and didn't need the fields tomorrow. So that's that, and you know, it gives us some time to see what the options are. But yeah, we have a lot of things going on around the recreation area. So we very much appreciate that. And if you have your contact information, and as we move forward, I was going to say, could you provide, if you have an interest, could you provide that to us?
Yeah, do I just put that in the chat box or?
If you want to make it less public, you can contact Charlie Thomas from the website.
Okay, I will do that.
Yeah, I mean, okay, thank you for clarifying that. I thought we did have your, so no, if you could contact, we'll keep you informed as we move forward with this. But yeah, we've got a lot of things going on that, you know, I don't want to, you know, bore you with the details, but we do have a lot of things that we need to discuss moving forward. And I guess a lot of, you know, the fact that the Smoketown field is up in the air, we just don't know where that leaves us at this point. So
You and me both.
yeah, I can understand that. Okay.
All right, I will email Mr. Thomas here shortly with my contact. I would love to keep in touch and just give him heads up and information as things progress. That would be great. And I truly appreciate the opportunity to come talk to all of you this afternoon about the potential need for CVBA.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and for telling us about this.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. And do we have any, we don't have anybody else on, okay, no other public concerns or comments, reports. Recreation, we're already there. We don't have Chris here today, and he said he had, I think in his email, he said he had nothing to bring up. Do we know, Charlie, do you know any other things as far as the staff of any of the programs?
Mr. Neff leaves the straight. He knew when fall ball was going to be. I haven't heard anything.
He sounds like he's interested in communicating, so maybe we'll get a little more
Yeah.
info out of him.
Yeah. All right, good. Grounds, buildings and trails.
And of course, everything's moving forward. So, down the season. I know it's going to come up later. Well, I can wait for the pavilion rentals to bring up the information I have. Really, the only thing I do have is the park cameras have been installed.
Oh,
They are up and running. We do have, I think, up there yet. There they are. You want me to drive? We have a couple options with park cameras. As you see right here, it's definitely, they're called quick dive and zoom ins. See the high pavilion, high pavilion's right here. I won't mess anything up here. So basically, we catch a little bit of the playground and of course the whole high pavilion. It does zoom in. So if we do have any damage or anything going on in the middle of the night, we can zoom in, at least get a count of numbers and say, hey, call the police department and to be able to get up there. Some of the other ones. I can't, where do I go? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to shut this off. I think this is my camera. Yeah. So here's the Clark Pavilion. I'll just show you these two. Of course, this is the fisheye. What it is it's just a whole zoom of the pavilion itself.
right,
Yeah.
right.
But it does give us drop downs. I can go to a single. And you can actually
Oh, cool.
walk around the playground, you can see things, not that we're spying on anybody, but if there's damage, it actually records, we can go back, review it, make sure it was the party that was renting it.
How long does that recording stay for?
Let's say 10 days.
That's probably.
It's long enough. I mean, over a weekend, yeah, we're going to catch it. We actually did catch something already at the Lions. There was individuals renting the place, renting the pavilion, sorry. We had some individuals waving to the camera and then they ended up tearing up a trash bag and tried to install the trash bag over top of the camera. Ended up dislodging the camera because I went on the Saturday afternoon and the camera was upside down and I couldn't figure out why. But again, this is basically the same thing. You can zoom anywhere you want to go. We're looking at possibly catching some of the parking lots off the end of the buildings, which is in the works. We don't have it affected right now, but there is going to be notification. We're going to set it up that after 9:30 at night, if there's movement at the pavilions, we're going to get an email. The police will get an email and myself and park superintendent will get an email. We don't want to see everything. We don't want to see a rabbit running by or a squirrel, but they actually have human size activations.
Wow.
It could be a dog, it could be a cat running by. As long as we have it at that higher setting, we're not going to get anything. It's a human size. We'll get something.
We get to catch black bear.
Yeah, right. And that goes on with all it. We have a torpedo, what is called a torpedo camera on the backside of the Clark Pavilion. It actually catches some of the concession stand. And this is another one, it just zooms in and you can actually see if anything's going on out there. We were thinking about possibly mounting one out there to take care of the back, dugouts. But we noticed this store was open the other day. I called Troy. He went out there. It was somebody from CV Baseball unloading water in the concession stand. But at least we saw something was going on. So.
That is very nice. I was gonna ask you how they're monitored, so, and would somebody at the police department have, you know, like if there's somebody here, would they have?
We were in and out, the lieutenant and the chief, it's probably going to be the shift sergeant will get they carry an on-call phone when they're on duty. So when I get an email, they'll be getting an email. We're possibly setting up a small TV over there that it'll be constantly to that instead of something. So they can look right at it. But with the email, like I said, it's not activated yet, but we'll get it activated soon. That's just the beginnings of it. I mean, like I said, the recordings, you can go back, say you want to see movement between 9 o'clock at night and midnight, it'll zoom right into that and you'll see stuff on the graph bar where you can just fast forward, you don't have to sit and watch the whole video. But it's, so far we caught the person that put the trash bag over the camera, they did not have the pavilion rented, so I didn't have a name to go back on to call them. It was just, hey, this pavilion's open, let's go sit in there. So I had no idea who it was. It was probably about 12, 15 people in there. But yeah, the camera was there, they waved, they cut the trash bag and got up on the picnic table. So we're looking at a way to secure that better. So I think it's a twist lock. Fell out, jumped up.
It certainly does put a whole new twist on our discussion that we had, what was that, a couple of months ago about, you know, damage and trashing and,
Yeah, once we realized the camera was upside down, our guys went on Monday and found it dislodged. But looking at the video upside down, but you can see beer bottles and stuff there. So to seeing it regular or no to it, could have called the police department, they could have ran. But I don't sit all weekend and monitor.
Yeah.
But, and we don't want to monitor, we have renters. So people in and out.
Also, there's a reason
So
to,
it's the after hours. We just haven't set that time.
Or into research afterwards than prevention.
Correct.
yeah, we're not trying to invade privacy, we're trying to protect township property. How's that sound? That's what this is about. Nobody, yeah.
Good investment.
Okay. All right, that's exciting. It's kind of cool. Anything else for grounds, buildings and trails?
You know,
All right, and recreation program.
that was something good.
But I can't. We did interview an individual who was interested in the position, made an offer to that individual that was declined. I've gone back. Tried to ask some more questions about that, so I'm waiting for some additional feedback, but at this point, we don't have anybody.
Okay. It's a shame. Oh, well. Keep working on it. I'm sure we'll find somebody. That'll be good. Okay. Yeah, I thought today, and I don't know. You know, okay, so the other members of the CV school district didn't want to play, but I mean, is there anybody else? I mean, is it worth talking to West Side Peter or anybody like that, seeing if they have any, even just some kind of cooperative programs that we might be able to do with them? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Is that worth pursuing?
My view would be that, once we have a person on board, we could start trying to make those connections, seeing relationships might make sense. But until then,
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not thinking about anything like, for the end of the month or anything like that, but no, it just was curious. Because it just occurred to me, because I was going through Lampeter again and I saw they had a park club meeting. I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting to find out what they're up to. So, I don't know. Okay. Just a brainstorm, thank you. Anything else for the recreation program? Any old business?
Yes. This goes back many months, and we talked about mini disc, and they were being taken. Remember, anybody remember the mini disc?
Yeah.
We were talking about that, and we couldn't decide what to do. So I was thinking, why don't we put a sign up? I went to play it, that's why I was bringing it up, and I went to the box, nothing in the box. And the sign at the bottom of the box saying, please return the disc. So then I thought, I had a psychologist friend had a problem in his back, and people were trampling on his flowers and whatever. And what he did was he put a little sign out saying, you know, please, you're hurting the flowers and don't step on them. And ever since he put a sign up, they stopped. So I was wondering just to put a sign, not in the box, but either underneath the box or near the box saying, you know, please, these are for everybody to use, please return them
Here.
and put that at the hole 1, and then at hole 18, put other little sign saying, please return these to hole 1. So people at least be reminded. Sometimes I think that you can get excited with playing with your buddies and whatever, and let's go out and go home, then you just take the disc without thinking. So I just thought for, you know, one way to maybe solve the issue is just put signs that they can see that say, please return. And then the other thing is, now that you brought it up about the video cameras, on the sign, underneath the sign saying, we are videoing the premises. Just, I mean, you're not, but the sign will say that, and that will be another reminder, gee, they're watching us, so maybe we ought to return them. So that was just a little idea of.
Either that or go to the pavilion to get your disc, where there is a camera.
You can do it that way too, but since the box is there, I just said, wouldn't just put a sign out and maybe on a small underneath, just say this is premises are being videoed, which would be another reminder. So that was just an idea, maybe to stop people from taking a disc.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds cheap.
Cheap way to do it. Yeah.
Like the 50-cent solution. Yeah, that sounds like, geez. Yeah, I think that'd be a good
You
idea.
haven't purchased signs recently.
What?
You haven't purchased signs recently.
No, I'm thinking of a piece of paper, you know, and just put it in there, a piece of acetate, you know, just try that for a little while.
Yeah, it doesn't take much acetate to sign and take some, well, I guess it's metal. Take some thumbtacks or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm thinking is if you put it in there and it works, then you get a permanent sign. If it doesn't work, you know, okay, forget it, you know?
Doesn't take much to make a sign, right?
I'm sorry,
It doesn't take much to make the sign, I wouldn't think.
on a piece of paper, no, I could write that right now. But if it rains, if the wind blows,
No, or
a metal,
metal sign, plastic sign, whatever,
I did.
yeah. Just an
And
idea,
even attached right to the box,
either to the box or
to the, on the outside of
the box, it takes some super glue.
Yeah. But one time my wife with her cricket. Will make letters.
Yeah. So something to consider. I mean, you know, I just said, do something temporary until you know, see if it works. And if it has any indication it works, then make it, you can get fancy then.
Some plastic and some ink.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have to build signs. We don't have the ability to. No, we've got to outsource it. We outsource all of our street signs, stop signs, everything.
Well, maybe we'll do the budget next year, we'll put it in for signs.
I like the idea of putting it inside the box.
It's like about you just reach in and take them. Take the time to look at the box and see that little sign that's in the box, where it's outside the box.
People are gonna see a thing from or the sign. I think you might get 10% better results.
I think most people will be honest if they're wanting to be honest, especially if you say you're being videoed. Yeah.
So that is to your, in the box. We put a mouse trap in the box.
People give away some of these things. And so that the expectation is that these are free, and it's just like, well, whatever. But if you set the expectation, it's like, And, we ain't made of money, the expectation that people should return them.
Yeah, good. If you turn these,
You might get, you'll get some of them returned, I think. So. Okay,
If you have some suggestion on wording, for that, that would be helpful.
something that's over here.
Down to one of these shops that makes bumper stickers.
yeah, there you go. Do something temporary at first and then get something better if it works. Okay, anything else? Any other old business? Okay, new business. We have pavilion rentals. So, what's your pleasure, everyone? We saw, I don't know whether anybody said it may be not changing.
I would suggest that we, and other parks do this, is, if you want, we were talking about the baseball field, the softball field earlier. If you want additional, amenities other than your, pavilion rental, you pay for that extra. So I know places do it for volleyball, they do it for basketball, they do it, for baseball or softball. And that also would give us a way to monitor how many people that are running the pavilions really use the baseball fields. I mean, so even if it's $20 extra to rent the baseball field, if you have that for 4 or 5 hours, it's $5 an hour for, it's minimal in terms of how, you are, but it will give us a way to monitor their use in conjunction with the pavilion rentals. And it may be that it's not anything that, people are using extra. So, or it could be we're getting some extra money for the use that can help the upkeep with that. But I think we should be charging extra for that if you want to use it, because not every, there's not a baseball field to rent over at, Flory or, Lafayette, there's other places that we can't give that, amenity to. So why do we give it away at one park and not have that available at the other when the pavilion prices are all the same?
Well, if CV Baseball, I'm just asking, if CV Baseball will come in and say, okay, we want to rent it for these 3 months, I'm going to pay $20 a day. That's it without renting a pavilion?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, why not?
Just asking you.
Well, I did find out pavilion rates are considerably higher than down at the Intercourse Park. Surprised me a little bit. And I just happened to be there. They were pretty heavily utilized. And the amenities around them. I think the population there is a little different than we're dealing with. But given the year that we've had as far as price increases and all that kind of thing, I think we have to be really, really careful, particularly since our rentals were down a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. We're down approximately 23 non-resident rentals and 2 resident rentals. So we're down 25 rentals for the year, which accounts for a little over $2,000 next year once we bump the rentals up.
So I think we have to be a little careful on where we go rates wise this year in particular, I think, because of the economy. I think everybody's gotten bitten pretty good.
I'm fine with leaving them where they're at for.
I'm not usually the guy that says leave it alone, but I think this year, I think that's what we should do.
So what'd you say?
I leave it alone. This year, I said, I'm not usually that guy. I usually think if you give up a year, you can't make it up the next year, but I think maybe we've reached a point where people are looking for other opportunity or other options because of the pricing. If I think Intercourse Park is like $85 for their pavilion there, and they've got 2, one with like not kitchen facilities but close. So they've got a nice place there. So I'm wondering if some of those 23 non-residents are going there or somewhere else. I don't think there's less people doing it. I think they found another venue. That's my guess. And it is a guess.
Keep the same.
I think we're pretty much agreed on that. I mean, yeah, but I like where, I mean, because I feel the same way, you know, I don't. You know, after all the things, to your point, Ann, was after all the things that people are getting hit with, might be nice to keep the rates the same. But I'm intrigued in about your idea of having some, you know, facility, basically use of facilities and amenities, and we could say, I mean, I think that's worth exploring. I don't know, what do the rest of you guys think?
Yeah, I like the idea to how to build that into what we've got, unless you want to go back and say, if you're not using the thing, discount it.
I mean, if you rank Clark Pavilion over at Flory, you don't get use of the baseball fields at Flory. So why do you get them at Community?
I think that's a fair point. Can we do that without messing with our rates too much, or?
Well, it's just an add-on.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking at. This is.
You
we're
put
talking
the
about-
rates the
So leave
same.
the rates alone and we add that.
If you want the use of the field, you're gonna pay extra.
And here's the rationale for that. First, you gotta maintain the fields and gotta keep doing things. Secondly, are we hearing that, okay, with whatever's happening at Smoketown, we're gonna have to, maybe we'll have to respond in some way. So, you know, get some little extra income to be able to handle that.
Like I said, then we'll know how much is used too, in
put more-
conjunction with pavilion rentals.
Put more pressure on the fields if we lose Smoketown at some point, so I don't know whether we're at that decision point, but.
It doesn't sound, well, let's put it this way, doesn't sound imminent, but it sounds like we're gonna have to plan for it eventually.
Years away, I mean.
But but the point is, it takes a while to respond to. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. And
They're just gonna have to look at churches and, I mean, when I was involved with CV Little League, when it was in its prime, I mean, we had almost 900 kids
wow,
in the district. We literally had, and I was the player agent. I registered them all. I kept all the records. I know. And I mean, we played up at Brownstown. We played in apartment complexes. We played at multiple churches. I mean, it wasn't just in township facilities. They're gonna have to do.
that is one reason I asked him
Indeed.
where else he was exploring, you know.
I mean, there are many nights where I was running one kid up to Brownstown and then back here to Smoketown to drop off another one.
Place we should have mentioned to him was the old Locust Grove facilities. Since that school is closed and belongs to Clark's. Fields are still there. I see people using them. So that might be an option.
That property is slated for development.
Okay,
Yeah, but they're just gonna have to look at, you know, I think Bearville Fire Company had a field that we played. You know, so there's you just have to get,
Creative.
yeah, you have to get, when you have that many kids.
The kids don't care.
You find places for them.
playing a pasture.
Yeah.
Chelsea Village, we made 3 fields in Chelsea Village on 23.
Yeah, it's amazing.
To
What you-
Charlie's point, if we're gonna charge for the field use, you would include baseball association as somebody that would be charged for use of that field?
I would not, I don't think we've charged them for using fields. I mean, we don't charge them to use Flory, so why would we charge them to use that field too? I mean, they're community groups. Then we get back into how the school district is doing things, which, again, it would be nice to have a recreation person that can guide us in terms of how this is done, you know, in other places and, you know, is
So you're
it?
thinking just for pavilion rental?
I would say in conjunction with pavilion rental for now.
Yeah, outside. What I'm thinking is at some point, and this would be really it would seem to me it would be a really good fit. Back to the, when we have a recreation director, to say, okay, these are established recreation programs within the township, like the baseball association, and whatever, and that we have them and we bless them and they get the use of the fields.
Well,
But-
and if you have somebody that registers to rent a pavilion in January and they rent the baseball field alongside that, then that organization will know they have to schedule around because that's rented, the field is rented. So that's another way to avoid conflicts with community organizations and youth groups too.
So would you totally separate the reservations, the two things?
A lot of them, people do rent that field, so you are up in the rent that.
Right.
$20.
Or whatever it is. So I mean, that's what we got to figure out.
Ultimately, the only other option is to discount it if you don't use the field, which is going the wrong direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
For us.
Let's just leave it the way it is. Yeah, because we're trying to get the people to use it to begin with, and that is an extra that you get the ball field for free. So,
Maybe at least if we decide to do this thing with the baseball association, we would have to let prospective pavilion renters know that during that particular time frame, the field might not be available.
yeah, but then you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Either way you go, you're.
Most of your rentals for the baseball field are on the weekends, family reunions and stuff like that. Like they only wanted to use Tuesday through Thursday or
Monday through
Thursday,
Thursday.
Thursday.
Unless you say you want to rent the pavilion, you can rent the ball field only on weekends to get some extra income, and then the rest of the time.
We're gonna make this a mess. If I think we're better off leaving it alone.
We'll just leave that out.
I'm saying, why would we do that at one park and not the other parks? If we're gonna put a pavilion at Lafayette, well, are you gonna get the baseball field at Lafayette when you get the pavilion at Lafayette? Are you gonna, we need to have some consistency, I think. We have 2 fields at Flory and, the Clark Pavilion's right there. Why don't they get the use of a baseball field there? I mean, so I think it's just consistency in our practices for doing it that, if we're going to do it that way. It's not automatic that you get it if you just go to community anymore. And that's the explanation we use, is that it's not included in pavilion rentals at our other parks.
Is that what we have right? And that's the practice we have right now. That's like.
Yeah, it's only the one park that we do that for. Why?
As we always do.
Well, we've grown our parks over the years.
Oh, yeah.
That was that. So that's why we have to revisit it. So, I mean, we need to.
So how does that work at like Lafayette or when they rent a pavilion? The expectation is to get the pavilion.
Playgrounds next to it.
I mean, if nobody's on the ball field and they go out there and use it.
Yeah, I mean, nobody can stop them from using it. I mean, if there's nothing going on at Flory Park, they're using that field. I guarantee that.
Community, we ask when you're renting, do you want to use the ball field?
CV Baseball Association uses those fields hard. Very, very.
Well, I just think we need to be consistent, in all the parks.
And they maintain those fields.
Yeah, they do. They maintain, they cut the grass, we treat them with chemicals, so they don't put the wrong stuff. But it's up to them and Diamond Techs to do everything. They pay for the electric lights at Flory,
Who's that CV?
CV Baseball Association, yes.
So maybe we need to make that arrangement and include this one. If he gets that far.
If they're gonna have priority use of the field, yes, if we're still gonna give some priority to pavilion rangers, then that would be.
Is that, they hold baseball to Florida, so you're talking all weekend sometimes, yeah. So you can rent the pavilion and that baseball field's packed.
Yeah. We can,
How about tabling this until we think about it?
yeah, I was gonna say, let everybody think about it till next time, but we'll have to make a decision one way or the other next time. Either we're gonna do something or we're not. We're gonna make a recommendation. Or we're not, so.
I suggest we leave the pavilion rentals as they are. What we ought to be thinking about is whether we decouple, including the field with the rental at community.
That's just. Yeah, that's very narrow, yeah,
It's either we do or we don't. I mean, it's
yeah. So you're making a motion that we,
leave the rates as is for all facilities, and we discuss whether we're gonna decouple the use of the field at community.
let's table that till next time, yeah.
That's the same. What about the volleyball then too? The same volleyball court?
Yeah. Yeah, volleyball too.
We're gonna do that, we should do pavilion only or not.
So what you're saying is that the other two parks, you rent the pavilion and you rent the field or the volleyball court. We don't do that. We want to be able to say you have to now rent the baseball field and the volleyball court. We're gonna throw that in now.
Do they rent them at the other places, or do they just use as available?
Yeah. Basically, if the fields are open, they use them. But CB baseball takes priority because they maintain the fields. The only park we do it is a community park where we used to offer a barbecue pit also. And they thought it was just a regular barbecue grill. It's a big chicken barbecue pit, so we did away with that one. But we do have the option to pick a baseball field or both.
So if we were being consistent, we would say you're renting the pavilion, the volleyball and the baseball, if they're not in use, whosoever will. That would be like flooring. But at the same time, if we were doing that, we'd have to have an arrangement with CV for the baseball field so that was consistent. Is that fair? That they would involve themselves in taking care of that if they got priority use.
I know when the Amish rented, they rent that baseball field because that is used heavy. Now, if there's another party there and they're already on it, I don't know if it's going to cause argument. I don't know. But you're on the board to decide.
Well, make one suggestion, because you kind of have a motion on the floor, I guess, to the parliamentarian. What if we just said, and it's what you said, basically, we approve keeping the rentals the same. And that's the action we're taking right now. And we're agreeing that we're going to talk about, think about it until next month, about whether to decouple the use of the fields or use of the facilities and charge for that or not. So that is what your motion,
My motion was to keep the
Rental.
prices the same.
right. Does anyone who,
And then with the other part to it, that we're gonna look at decoupling. That's the second part of the motion.
well, what I was gonna say is, I don't know whether we need a motion for that, if we're gonna just approve this and then say, okay, so, and we're agreeing that we're tabling, maybe that's a second motion, which is, okay,
What's included in that is to be
Yes.
discussed.
okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so, yes, we approved that, and then, and I said, if you want to make a second motion, say, we're gonna talk next time about,
Just something.
so, yeah, then we're fine. Okay, Anything else? Any other new business?
Just mention that this weekend, if you're interested, you would be able to walk or bike the 1.1 miles of the Heritage Pathway on the go path.
Friday's gonna be the thing at 12 o'clock. I saw in the paper, I didn't. Leonard
Yeah, I
Drive.
forget what time, but
I thought it was 11.
Is there parking area there? Would there be parking area there? Do you walk there?
there's a trailhead. The College of Health Sciences.
Oh.
Is what, 30, 40 spaces?
Yeah, like gobbled up. I'm sorry,
I was wondering how many parking spaces there was, 30, 40, something?
yeah, 30, I think.
Define health science campus, is that what you said?
College of Health Sciences
And the parking area behind there will be there.
on the go path.
Very nicely laid out. I was back there last week sometime or other. It's kind of laid out in a circular pattern with some slipper rail fence. Looks nice.
Very cool.
The event is at 11 a.m.
One other, I hate to go back to our question about the pavilion rentals and facilities. Charlie, do you have any way of, I mean, one of the things we were talking about is it's a way to count it, if we formalize it. Do you have any sense at this point, or could you give us by next time, any sense of how many times people want to use any of the facilities they expressed that? Okay, thank you. Because, yeah, if we're talking about 5 times a year, forget it, but if we're talking about 5 times a day.
Mr. Mike asked if it was used during the week, and that's why I asked what we've been doing. March, April. So I figured we can pull that lots that we can get back. Say,
Yeah.
how much it's during the week, but then I can sort of see if they can pull the report, see how often it's during the weekends. Both of them, baseball field.
Yeah, because it seems to me, obviously, if it's one of those, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Kind of a situation, if we don't have it, doesn't happen that often. Yeah,
The idea of consistency.
yeah, I do understand that, I do, I'm hearing it. Okay. Okay. Anything, yeah, I was gonna say, any public comment? If not,
I think I'm good.
okay,
I guess I'll second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.